Hello, welcome back to the Watercolor Card YouTube channel with Lisa Christensen. I'm so happy you are here. I believe that everyone can watercolor and that everyone has the ability to get your brush wet and start painting. So come along. Hi friends, welcome. This is such a wonderful, wonderful way to paint some cards. I'm going to show you how I paint these loose, very atmospheric watercolor floral cards in a couple minutes actually. It does take time to dry because there's about 3 layers, but it is so much fun. Come with me, and it's really with 2 colors, Burnt Sienna and Prussian Blue, and then for splatter I'm using the Durachrome Desert Bronze, and it is so fun. This paint is so fun, but that's just on the background. It's just a fun little floral motif. I needed some sympathy cards, so I thought these are perfect colors for that, and I had a lot of fun painting them. So come along, I will show you what to paint with. You're also going to need an oval or filbert brush, and this is a 6mm 1/4 inch oval brush or filbert brush, depending on how you anyways, it's gonna be fun. I also put the watercolor card base is this, and then the watercolor paper is cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm using 140-pound watercolor paper. So it's such a fun little way to just paint and let the watercolor kind of do its thing. So come with me, and it's going to be a simple recipe. Once I get a recipe in my mind, I just kind of go with the composition. So this is the composition recipe. I'm going to get my Prussian Blue. I'm going to get a nice big puddle of Prussian Blue, and I'm getting a nice big puddle of raw sienna. Burnt sienna. Sorry, I say raw. I meant burnt. Burnt sienna is darker and orangier. Raw sienna is more like this color, the yellow. Okay, so I got a nice little puddle going. I am going to start with, this is just me playing, and it really does kind of work. I want it to look natural, so I'm definitely gonna, and then maybe that's just there. I'm going to take my brush. I'm just going to use water. I really want it to just, I want the watercolor to flow. And I'm going to add more to it. This is just the first layer. Alright, now I'm going to take this blue, this muted blue. Prussian Blue can be kind of bright. This is a very toned down, and it has this little green-esque look to it, but it's still pretty blue. So anyways, here's my tall flower, and I'm gonna go ahead and just start adding, like, so I'm thinking of like an orchid, or I don't know, it's just something, and I'm doing like 3 petals. I'm using the brush, the whole side of my brush, and I think it needs to be a little bit more like that. So something like that. I'm gonna add a little bit of this brown in just to add to it. I really like how it just moves on the water. Okay, I'm going to go back in with my blue. I'm going to add another, this is going to be like a stock flower or something, I don't know, we'll see. And I probably could use a little more blue on that. And I think I lost the stock flower, so this is going to be another flower like that, which I think is going to be really pretty. Okay, and now I need a couple of those orangey-ish pretty flowers. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to get my blue. So warm to cool, and then warm to cool. So I'm always looking at how can I add the warmth and the cools together to make it rhythm, to bring rhythm to it, and to just produce a pretty color, right? And pretty painting. And because the blue is pretty blue, I wanted to tone that down. So on top of the blue, I'm just adding some of that beautiful sienna. Okay, now I can mix those two together. and get this really pretty. I'm going to need some more burnt sienna. The blue will sometimes overpower it, but I still like this. We're going to go with, I'm going to grow my, whatever this is. That feels about right. I'm just going to use my brush, and that's pretty brown, but that's alright. It's kind of winter, it should be. And maybe that's a seed head, or maybe it's a something. I don't know. I just love these colors. They're so pretty together. I'm also going to add more of that straight blue and add that in. Just like I did here with the orange, I'm going to add some of that blue back in. I'm going to keep my values. It's so loose and free and fresh that I just want to keep it. And I'm going to add leaves, little dots for leaves. Alright, and now I feel like I could definitely start adding some of that beautiful iridescent color to the painting, and that's just gonna liven things up and really do some beautiful things. Now I'm just taking some water and I'm just spreading it around, and that's gonna do a couple things. That's gonna keep it loose. Look at all that watercolor flowing. It's so pretty. And wherever I feel like there's a lot of white space, I'm just going to add my brush, and that's where I get that really pretty loose look. And no, you cannot control it, and that's part of the fun, because we can go back in and make those shapes more prominent. I really like how there's some blue right here, so we're going to go with that. This is a very intuitive. This is not an easy process, so to speak. It is easy in the fact that I'm not drawing, but to know what your painting needs, it just takes time and practice. And there's no, it just takes time and practice. So I know that like my watercolor paper is pretty much, I can't do a whole lot. I have to let it dry. So once it dries, I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to add some more blue and some more of that sienna, and then I'm going to come back in here and add some more blues and siennas, and I'm going to build this up. But right now it's too wet to do much. I really like this shape, but I want to kind of just keep it with how it is. So this is a good base, and this is a good base, and we're going to get some really beautiful paintings from this. My hope is that I can get a sentiment right here, so if that's my hope, I should probably leave that one alone. I don't need that to be moving all over the paper. And I would like to get a sentiment here. I want to build up this layers with some browns and some grass. It's going to look beautiful. So again, all you need is like 2 colors, maybe 3, and we got some good things happening. So we'll come back when it's dry and put on another layer. While it's still wet, I want to make sure I got some really pretty iridescent splatters on. I think that's what makes a watercolor so fun. I see. The only place I don't want splatter is where I want my sentiment, and it's because I haven't stamped my sentiment yet. I'm just guessing where I want my sentiment, which is just fine. Sometimes I have to, sometimes if I knew I wanted a sympathy card or something, I would put a sentiment right here first and then stamp. I just didn't do that today. Alright, so when it dries, we'll do another layer, maybe 2 more layers, stamp it, put it on a card base, and we'll call it done. Alright, so I got, these are all dried. Look at how beautiful that texture is. Oh my goodness, so pretty. I mean, it's just stunning. And we're just going to add to this beautiful texture. And so this is where we kind of look, I kind of think about where I need to add my darkest darks and my composition, my shapes. And so since I started with this one, I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. This one, now I'm going to be using a 6mm oval brush. This is by Cotman Newton. Winsor Newton Cotman. And this is a filbert brush, or an oval brush. Some people call it a filbert, some people call it an oval. It doesn't really matter, it's the same. I like oval brushes for florals because you can get a like a flat brush, but you can also kind of use it as a round brush, and it's just kind of fun. So anyways, I'm just going to, this is my really pretty blue. I'm just gonna make this flower a little more prominent. And I'm using mostly that Prussian Blue with a teeny bit of that Sienna, but not a whole lot. This one's just going to be like a little something, I don't know. And I think I'm going to do another one, like a side view or something like that. I like that. I'm going to add some of this Burnt Sienna back on. And I'm just gonna, I really like this. I really want it to be pretty, not very much blue. I think that's gonna look nice. And I feel like I need another one, maybe right here. Like that. I kind of want to cross into the blue, maybe right there. I love using the oval brush. It does the work for me. Yeah, kind of like that. That's going to look really pretty. And then while I have my oval brush doing its thing, maybe I will just add a little bit of, just to give it some form. And then whatever this like mix I have on my palette right here, it's a little greener than I anticipated. I don't, it's probably, but that's okay. It's still pretty. And I'm definitely trying to keep it very loose. If you are frustrated with looseness, I recommend going back and seeing where your thickness of watercolor is, and that's probably what's causing your bit of the issues. Okay, now I love how this brush I can get lots of different variations of thicknesses, and I can really make a lot of shapes with oval brushes, which makes it really fun. Okay. And I'm just going to go in. This is going to be like grassy, fun. It's just a nice little floral motif. Floral motif. I could probably have this on my easel, but I think I'm alright. I'm actually gonna get my brush wet a little bit. I'm just gonna bring some of that grass back up. Partly because I feel like it. Yeah, something like that. I think that's really pretty. I feel like there needs to be like a center right in here, so I'm just gonna kind of curve my little brush just like that. And that is gonna look, that is looking, there we go. And I wanted to stay loose. I feel like I could add maybe just some greenery, some more of that blue. just in there, and then why not just add some little leafy things going. Yeah, I think that's gonna look perfect. I really like that. It kind of gives me the sense of like a beautiful sympathy card. That's really nice. I like that. All right, with this one might be a little bit easier. I have this beautiful outline that I want to keep, and I'm loving this blue. So I'm gonna just use my brush and I'm just gonna add to the darkness of it. And this one looks like I just kind of there. And now you can just one little brush stroke. I just kind of made a C, and I just put a lot of pressure down, and then I just lifted up, and that's all I did. And that worked out perfect. For this one, it reminds me of like a flower that wanted to bloom but just didn't before it got too cold. That was pretty. I think that one's just going to be like a bud. Yeah. And since I have some of this on my paintbrush, I'm just going to add more of that brown. It's going to go back in, and it's going to cool off. I'm going to cool it with some of that beautiful blue. Like this one, I'm going to just kind of do like like it just opened, almost like there's two petals or something. I don't know. And get some more of this burnt sienna. I think this would be a fun paint night. Just with these two blue, with the Burnt Sienna and the Prussian Blue. It's so pretty. I can really get some beautiful textures. I did use some of that bronze, desert bronze, but you don't have to. That was just because I had it. I don't know if it actually makes much difference. I need a little bit more of this Burnt Sienna. My goodness. I'm sure going through a lot. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of add a center. It's not much, and because I can, I'm gonna add a center to that one too, and it's just gonna be like a half a C, maybe like an L almost. I don't know, but it's kind of pretty. I like it. I really like just being in the moment, doing something that is definitely mindful and just for me. I mean, even if I'm making this for a sympathy card, but even if I was just painting this for me, oh my gosh, I would have so much fun. In my mind's eye, I'm just painting some like grassy wheat sort of stuff in the background, and that's what my little brush strokes are doing. Maybe you have a, I have a dead grass problem in my backyard. I like grass, and I let the dead grass stay over the winter so the insects have a decent chance of surviving the winter. And so I have a lot of dead grass, and I always look forward to May. That's when we're supposed to actually do something with our grass. Yeah, but it does take some time. It's not easy. So I'm just adding some texture. Alright, I feel like if I mess with this anymore, it's just gonna get too yucky. I wanted it to be very light and airy, and these are the two that came out. Now I could add a border. I don't think I'm going to add a border. I'm afraid that if I add a border, it's just going to look funny. I'll probably just put this on a white card base and call it, if I get a puddle, I don't necessarily like puddles, so I will take a damp brush and just kind of clean them up. I don't always know where the puddles are going to be until after I clean them up. But it also gives it a nice little texture. And I know that these loose florals are very, very fun to paint, but they can be really, like, I remember pulling my hair out trying to get these loose florals. And my best advice is to keep trying. Just do those brush miles and you will get there. We all have been there. And we all want to give up on loose florals. And then one day it just clicks and you're like, this is so fun and so easy. But we have to kind of put those brush miles in. How I do my brush marking with this if I was a beginner. Alright, so I finished these. They look lovely. I'd love to know if you have a favorite. If you liked the group of flowers on this side, or if you liked this one. So card A or card B. They are both just lovely, simple floral motifs that really made me happy to paint them, and they'll be happy for me to send them out.